Tony Blair, unflushable, isn't he? Just when you think you've seen or heard the last of him, he pops back up again. Like human herpes, he's only ever lingering in the background, waiting to make a comeback that nobody wanted. I can't help but feel like we're living in the mess that Tony Blair helped to create. Blair made a decision to irreversibly change the demographics of this country. In 2004, 8 countries in Central and Eastern Europe, including Poland and Hungary, joined the EU as part of the bloc's enlargement project. Blair chose not to put a block on the amount of people who could come, and for the decade that followed, net migration to the UK from these new member states topped 423,000. But on top of that, economic migrants were also waved through as asylum seekers, reportedly. Blair really set the ball rolling on mass migration. Entire communities, entire cities changed forever. In many areas, there's been a total loss of any sense of community whatsoever. Then, of course, there was devolution. Blair signed off on devolution to end the question of independence once and for all. Well, that went well, Tony. Cheers, mate. The potential disintegration of the United Kingdom is in no small part down to good old Tone. He's clearly about as good as seeing into the future as a backstreet clairvoyant with a cataract. It's interesting, though, isn't it, that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are in The Hague currently for the Invictus Games. In my opinion, they should have brought Tony Blair with them so he can stand trial. There have been 1 million excess deaths as a result of Blair's push for war in Iraq, according to the MIT Centre for International Studies. Many of them civilians, many of them children. 179 British troops died in Iraq. I'm just going to quote now the mother of one of the young men who died in that needless war. When Blair was knighted, I think the comments of these mothers of some of the dead British soldiers were very, very telling. Rose Gentle is the mother of Gordon Gentle, a 19-year-old from Pollock, who was killed in 2004 by a roadside bomb in Basra. She said, "Instead of standing in front of the Queen, being made a sir with that stupid grin on his face, he'd be better going to the cemetery of standing in front of my son's grave to see what he's done." I think we can all agree with that. I do think that the only way Blair should have got down on his knee in front of the Queen was if he was begging for forgiveness, frankly. But of course, another one of Blair's enduring legacies is this, isn't it?
He asked me my 3 main priorities for government, and I tell you, education, education, and education.
Yes, there we go. Of course, that was Blair's famous education, education, education. He wanted 50% of young people to go to university, the premise being, of course, that they'd become more intelligent, more employable, and indeed better paid. But, in reality, we've ended up with people saddling themselves with a lifetime of debt, being pummeled by spiralling interest rates. I'm convinced that it won't be long before you need a PhD to stack shelves in Lidl. There are people flipping burgers in McDonald's with a first in psychology from Sheffield University. There's no point getting a degree just for the sake of it, shackling yourself with tens of thousands of pounds for the privilege of getting a Desmond Tutu in fine art from a glorified polytechnic that rather suspiciously seems to accommodate a huge number of Chinese students from well-to-do families. It's absolute insanity, if you ask me. But Blair's back at it again, with the kind of logic that one can only assume comes from having one too many on the back of Mick Jagger's yacht. Blair now wants 70% of people to go to university. I believe this is just so that they can saddle themselves with debt and render themselves reliant on the state for the rest of their lives. But just in case you were on the fence about what a terrible idea this is, George Osborne's come out and backed Blair on this. The irony here is, of course, that Blair, lovely, fluffy, lefty Blair, is actually contributing to stigmatising people who don't go to university. He's adding to the perception that if you don't go to uni, you must be thick as mince. But the reality is that we need people with practical trades. We don't need any more people working in recruitment. We need plumbers, brickies, labourers. There's nothing thick about being a mechanic at all. I have no idea what's going on under the bonnet of my car. That's why I call a mechanic, because they're highly skilled. But it's not just me saying this. Tony Blair's own son, Ewan, has devoted a large chunk of his career to telling people not to go to university. For anyone who thinks Blair is a deeply principled man who has all of our best interests at heart, just remember that he's the ultimate champagne socialist. The Pandora Papers revealed that Tony and Cherie Blair did not have to pay £312,000 in stamp duty when buying a £6.45 million London townhouse. The couple bought an offshore firm that owned the building, and the Telegraph reported that the Blair Institute made millions by advising Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince. Yep, that's right. The man widely believed to have ordered a journalist to be carved up with a bone saw in the Turkish embassy. Look, thanks for the memories, Tony, but you've done more than enough damage to the UK already. Please pipe down. If I had it my way, there'd be a hostel room in Rwanda with his name on it.